All right, welcome to the first edition of the North Georgia Advocate podcast. I'm Chris Dyer, and I'm here with my co-host,
Viral.
and we're going to get in and talk about the happenings that's going on around Gainesville and Hall County and Northeast Georgia on a weekly basis. And we decided to start doing this podcast because it's hard to get a read and true temperature of exactly what's going on in Hall County. If you go to the government meetings and you go to the city meetings and things, there's just a lot of moving parts going on, and we want to try to educate the public so more of the public can get involved, and they won't be scared or intimidated to get involved, or they won't be feel like they don't know what's going on because our local news media does not do a good job of reporting what's going on. Like case in point, this morning, the city moved their executive session to 9 o'clock in the morning today, and it was not even in the paper or on any other sites until this morning. Nobody knew unless you were specifically looking for it.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I mean it's I just happened to run across it when I was checking the local news today. So, and I'm gonna
What
give you
exactly is the executive session? What is it? What do they cover?
well, what they do is they cover the executive session is where they nominate things that may be on the next meeting or agenda. If something's going to come up for a vote, they'll talk about it and decide to put it on the agenda for the next public meeting. Because each month you'll have an executive session and then you'll have a public session. The
Gotcha.
executive
Okay.
session you can't have public comments at.
Is it open to the public though?
Yes, it is open to the public,
Interesting. Okay.
but
You
if
can go.
they
You can
do
go in
anything,
there and sit in and listen to what they're talking about. So it's pretty much a work session for the
yeah, it's pretty
city
much a work.
council.
Yeah, it's an executive session like a work session.
Okay, gotcha.
It's
Yeah, and then these are usually scheduled out and in the after hours, so the public can attend instead of being at 9 o'clock in the morning. So for them
right.
to change it last minute without any kind of notice, or maybe they did notify and our local news sources just didn't put it
Well,
out there. So
they
interesting.
probably put it on the city website,
City website, yeah.
but they didn't broadcast it out. If they did, the news sources didn't pick it up. And a lot of times, if they move this, it could be for many things. A couple of the members could have had something come up and couldn't attend the scheduled one, or it could be because they had to move it because of meal camp or something like that.
Makes sense, yeah.
So it's not always a bad thing when they move, but it just makes it hard for the public to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing it
So,
on the Gainesville City website on their calendar. It's at 9 a.m. But again, like you said, I don't know. I don't know if if it was scheduled for later on this afternoon. And they changed it last minute. I don't think there's really a way of looking at it to see when it was changed.
right, unless you got a copy of the old calendar, but it's it'd be nice to have an open dialogue with each of the governments where they could contact. There's a way to get it out to where the public would know and you wouldn't have to just run across it or search for it.
Yeah.
And
Well, so I'm on the Gainesville City website right now, and there is an option to go on here on their calendar and I guess pretty much set up a login and
right,
sign in and set up an account, and then you can input your email address and your phone number and subscribe to
get
whatever
alert.
notifications you want to get. So yeah, so that if anybody out there wants to stay on top of this stuff, this is an option. And like Chris was saying, you can't really rely on local news sources to keep us up to date.
Right now, we have a calendar on NorthGeorgiaAdvocate.org. It's NGAdvocate.org. And we try to keep it up to date as possible. We have the meetings on there for the next couple of months already put on the calendar, at least for Hall County, and we're going to start adding the city in there more regular. But if we don't get alerted to these changes, there's no way we could have updated our calendar for this change this
Right.
morning. And I don't want to come across as I'm blaming the city council or anybody. It's just something that we need to take note of and start looking to see if there are any changes, and try to alert the public to where they know.
Sure.
And you figure these governments, why don't they, like say Hall County Commission or the Board of Education, why do they start meetings at 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock? They do it so it seems like they do it so the public can't come. They know they will be at work and they will not be inundated with a lot of visitors and comments and talk.
I mean, you as a citizen, you want to kind of not want to assume the worst, but the optics of it sure don't give it any kind of none of that really leans in favor of the elected officials or government staff or the board of or the school board, etc. when they do stuff like this where the optics just don't look like they want any kind of transparency or any kind of pushback from the public at their meetings or any kind of back talk or whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want to think in that general direction, but their actions kind of push us towards that. And with social media and the public kind of being able to get information from each other fairly quickly, the two people that are able to attend some of these meetings and public hearings and stuff, the word gets out and people do get upset by it. So there needs to be a little bit more transparency and an effort for transparency and stop. I would just a quick thought process, or just a brainstorm session, a quick 1-minute brainstorm session. Like, is this gonna make us look less transparent or more transparent? Like, what should we do? I wish they would go through that, and I don't know. And I'm assuming this, but I don't, like you said, I don't think they want this. I don't think they want that pushback. I don't think they want to deal with the public, even though they're elected to serve the public.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And up until recently, I don't think they've ever had much pushback at all. They have on certain projects and certain things, but not overall.
Yeah.
Most people just say, well, they're doing what's in our best interest. Well, you can't always assume that. And the way taxes keep going up and spending keeps going up, we've got to. That's how I got involved a couple of years ago. I started looking at taxes going through the roof, and you start noticing this stuff. How are these guys supposed to go to the meetings?
Yeah.
You've got to be retired or work for yourself.
Well, and I think what you're talking about here is the key reason I think more people are starting to want to take notice and want to start paying attention to what's going on with our local governments and the spending, and it's just the tax increases. We're property taxes, school taxes, it's kind of going through the roof, and then the more people start to pay attention, and the more groups like the Concerned Citizens of Hall County and Hall Informed, etc., these guys bringing attention to certain expenditures that either the school board's making or the county's making, and we kind of go back. It's like, wait a second, if they're doing this right now, what have they been doing for the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years that I've been living in this county or in this city? And there's a lot of stuff that's getting uncovered. And and
I think you can go into that when you talk the last 15, 20, 30 years. And a lot of it has to do with career politicians. People get in office and they never leave. And I'm not
Yes.
blaming them because there's a lack of candidates to run for office.
Yeah. So I mean, just for example, Billy Powell's been running unopposed for however many years, right? I think
Right.
like 15, 16 years he's been going unopposed. And and again, like you said, I don't think people care too much because our property taxes weren't too crazy. And now that they're going up, hey, wait a second, things are, people are starting to notice things like why has this person been unopposed for so long? Why has this person been on the city council for so long? Why has nobody else stepped up? And I think a lot of it, like you said, is just things are getting more expensive. It's hurting people's pockets, and people are trying to figure out where to cut costs. And it's just one of those things that
Yeah.
pops up. Yep.
And the budgets keep going up every year. And
Exactly. Yes.
you see property taxes have gone up 40 to 100% on some people.
Right.
And they want to roll back millage rates 1% and try to tell you you're getting a tax cut.
Yeah.
No, you're getting a cut from what you would have paid if they hadn't.
Yeah.
You're not getting a tax cut. You're not getting a tax break per se. You're just getting a small rebate of what you would have paid if they kept the millage rates the same.
And this kind of falls back onto the transparency thing that you were talking about. Is they try to gaslight people, and the few, and I wouldn't even say a few. I feel like more people are starting to kind of pay attention to it, but they understand that, wait a second, this math doesn't work out.
No,
we're things are still going up. We're just not paying at a higher rate, sure, but our the number still went up. I'm still paying more out of pocket.
yep.
So yeah.
It showed last year when T-Splosh got voted down resoundingly. I can't remember the last time a splosh got voted down. That's the 1st one in history, and this around here, I do believe. And we've got another one coming up this fall.
Yeah.
It won't raise the taxes, but it will continue the 7% sales tax instead of it dropping back to 6%.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't. It's just kind of silly. I mean, even the fact that it's been running for 40 years, in my opinion, a voluntary tax is.
Yeah.
Why are you voting yourself to pay more taxes? You already pay a ton in income taxes. You already pay a ton in federal Social Security, Medicare, all this stuff. You already pay local school taxes. You already pay local property taxes, county taxes, whatever else. Why are you voluntarily giving an extra penny? Like, I get it's just a penny. It's the principle of the matter. It's not necessarily the amount, but why would you put yourself in that situation, especially when these folks have been shown to not spend your money wisely? And it always ends up like this, where and it's government specifically, and it's at the local level, the state level, and federal level.
It's not specific to Hall County.
Yeah, any kind of organization that has almost an unchecked amount of resources, meaning that if they fall short of their budget and revenue this year, guess what? They're gonna increase property rates or property tax rates or school rates or whatever, and they're gonna make up for it this year plus get more next year. They don't care. They're gonna spend your money, and they know that they have an out, because if you don't pay your taxes, they kind of hold you hostage. They're gonna take your property. So
yeah.
And it's not that simple. I'm sorry. Let me just break that back. It's like, it's not that simple as they're just going to take your property, but you're going to have to deal with a lot of stuff going forward.
You can lose a $500,000 property for not paying $5,000 in taxes. I mean, if you fight them and end up not paying, they'll just auction it off on the courthouse square. I mean, eventually. I mean, it's a process they have to go through, but that's the end game.
Yeah.
It's just how you get there. And what a lot of people don't understand is all these fees, any license and any fee, those are taxes as well.
Yeah.
They're just packaged in a different manner.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, when you pay your business license, that's a business tax. That's what it is. Then you're getting taxed more because you own a business.
Well, I think our effective tax rate in this country, on average, I think it's almost like 60%.
Yeah.
with all the fees that you pay, all the sales taxes you pay,
Yeah, state, local, and
state,
federal.
federal, everything. Yeah, you're every dollar that you earn, about 60 to 70 cents of that is going towards taxes,
I
and you
know
get to
you
keep the other
used
30.
a couple of years ago, before inflation went up, you had to work through the end of April before you started making 1 penny for yourself.
Yeah. So for 4 months out of the year, or 5 months out of the year, you about pretty much work for the government.
Right.
Yep.
So, that's just something that we need to look at. And when we look at these budgets, we won't get into numbers today, but we have a lot of this stuff on the website and in our group on Facebook. And there's just a lot of things that make you go, huh,
Yeah.
and you have to put in ORR requests. It's not easy to get this information. And that's where, there needs to be more give and take with and I understand they can't work for free, but at the same time, we need more transparency as well. You figure they would want to be transparent for the public. If they won't, I don't think most people would mind the taxes as much if they knew where and why it was going to.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think anybody minds taxes. It's just when it's wasted.
Yeah.
And these folks have a long history of wasting and
Yeah.
being
And that's
inefficient with
what
their dollars.
happens. And a lot of it in this county and city is we've got what you call the established families and what they say the good old boy network,
Yep.
how it used to operate. And when a town starts growing like Gainesville and Hall County has over the last 20 to 30 years, there becomes like a power struggle. They want to keep a hold on to what they have, but at the same time, the county's getting so big and the city's getting so big that other people are moving in and wanting to take office, and they're buying up land, and that more
Yeah.
businesses are being started, and the dynamics change.
Yep.
That's just the way it works. And the key is finding a happy medium. You can't have, 3 or 4 people running a town this size. It's not like it was back in the 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
where it was
And
just,
like you said, Chris, I think this is one of the reasons things were kind of going unnoticed and folks were going on, running unopposed for the longest. It was a smaller city, a smaller county. Things have definitely grown a lot since then.
oh, yeah.
And a lot of these folks in the real estate industry that also have ties to our local officials have kind of pretty much sold out a good chunk of this county and the city as well to grow it. And whether that's for the good or for not, we'll find out in the coming years.
Right. And the thing is, and the county did a good thing, in my opinion, putting the 6 month moratorium on, because the growth has to stop. It has to,
Yeah.
it's going unchecked. And you can't just keep growing at the pace Hall County is. We're going to end up like Gwinnett County if we don't watch it. And that's one thing you don't want to do. Hall County is, there's hardly anywhere left to build in South Hall.
Yeah.
And it's trying to move up into the East Hall corridor, with the inland port going in, and they're trying to build all these 300 and 400 home subdivisions out through there on these roads that are not equipped to handle it. One thing is the growth, you got to have the infrastructure.
Yeah, I agree.
Our roads can't handle it. Like here at Limestone, they're putting in a 5-story hotel next to a car wash next to Kroger, and White Sulphur and Pine Valley Road can't even hold the traffic on it that's on there
Currently
now.
there. Yeah. Yeah.
And they're building 600 homes and townhomes right up the road from it.
Yeah. And isn't a couple of those subdivisions that are going in there Cook Construction?
Yeah,
Good communities.
one's already got houses being built in it, and the other
Yeah.
one's fixing to start.
I gotcha. Yeah.
You know, and you're gonna have all those.
Well, so I think, and this was a question that I've had before, where what is this is one of those the chicken or the egg type situations where which one's going to come first? Is the growth going to come first, and then we get the infrastructure, or is the city, the state, the county, etc., gonna put in the infrastructure before the developments come?
Right.
And I know a couple of people chimed in on that post at one point on one of the Facebook groups, and they did say, I think somebody from the county, one of the staff members, actually mentioned something about, until DOT sees a need, or the county sees a need by the numbers, et cetera, they're not going to put the money into improving any kind of infrastructure unless the need's already there. And obviously, to me, that's a little backwards. Like, hey, if you're going to have a little bit of, you have a master plan, you know what you want to put into these specific areas and these smaller roads and whatnot. If it's going to be a rural neighborhood or a subdivision, minor, major, whatever the terminology may be, why not start addressing the potential infrastructure issues that are going to come up, and maybe focus on white sulfur. Let's build out white sulfur. Let's widen it. Let's do what we got to do. Because that, and again, in my opinion, this is a little bit more wasteful. Is like, why are we not pre-planning a lot of this stuff when, quote unquote, things are cheaper right now, or they were cheaper 5 years ago, where, okay, we're going to widen this road out. Let's go ahead and I'm this is just my thought process. I'm sure the county or the city and the local governments have their own procedures they have to follow, whether they're inefficient or not. That's going to be my opinion on this, but you have to go in there and take what you want, instead of saying, all right, well, we're going to wait until all of this comes. By then, some of these communities meet those setback lines and the buffer zones and whatever. After 7,000 homes have been built on white sulfur, you're going to have to go back and buy that backyard space or whatever else you need to get for even higher money, instead of, hey, let's just go ahead and take this extra 500 or 300 feet of road frontage that we need from this property eventually. Let's just go ahead and buy it. Worst case scenario, we'll just buy it, we'll own it, and we have room to grow and expand this road pretty quickly, instead of having to go through this 10-year, 15-year, 20-year process of, oh, we got to do surveys. We got to come up with estimates as to how much it's going to cost to take the right of way, how much is it going to take to buy. And a lot of, and we're noticing this on Dawsonville Highway right now, where they're going to be putting in this extra lane or 3 lanes or whatever, right? Where I think the night development came in with Chipotle and Academy Sports, and then on the other side you have Olive Garden and whatnot. And that road was already busy when all of that was getting built out there. And I was a lot younger back then, but even then I was wondering, I was like, why would the county or why would the city not make these folks set their limits back a little bit further? Because now what's going to end up happening is you're going to have a much tighter third lane,
right?
And you're going to be pretty much driving over folks' parked cars. From my looks, and you put guardrails up and whatever else, it's still a little scary, because you hit one wrong turn or somebody runs into you or whatever, you're hitting that guardrail, and for God forbid that guardrail doesn't hold you up, you're going straight into somebody else's car. So when they were building that out, my thought process was, why not just go, before they build all this out, why not just make them push it a little bit further back? Because eventually you're going to have to grow this road and you're going to have to widen it. And guess what? 10 years later, or whatever, 15 years later, they're having to widen this road because it just can't handle the traffic anymore.
Yeah.
So
they're seeing that on Spout Springs too. It took them 10 years and then still not got the road widened.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
And especially the reason I say the Kroger, they knew when they built that shopping center back 10 years ago, it's 11 years ago, they knew that the area was going to grow, because North Hall that part of the county had nothing.
Yeah.
I
Well, you
mean,
don't do a multi-million-dollar development like that Kroger complex unless you knew more developers were going to come in
yeah.
and start building all around it. Absolutely. I agree with you
And I
100%.
understand that you can't get money from the state if it's a state road, but all the local roads, like county and
Yeah.
local roads, they could have went ahead and prepared for it on those roads.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just, and I get it that the county's grown so much so quick, but that's also their fault as well because, they were approving every subdivision, every builder that come in want to do something.
Yeah.
Because they wanted the tax money. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, no, they can preface it how they want. That's basically all what it is. They want that tax money. I mean, it's guaranteed tax money.
Yeah, and I think that's where that mindset of, do you work for the public or is the government its own little business that is just constantly striving for more and more and more revenue,
And another thing is they think they want to put off the infrastructure on the builders when they build these subdivisions, but it ends up coming back on the county.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they're gonna do their decel lane, they're gonna do their entrance, they're gonna give a little bit of a landscaping thing and maybe hook up their own sewer or water lines in their own subdivision, but they're not in the business to give away stuff for free.
No,
They're trying to make money. So
no doubt.
yeah, they're not gonna widen the road for you. They're not gonna do this and that.
Oh yeah, and so.
And I don't honestly, Chris, I don't expect the developers to do it in the first place too. I think again, this falls back on our officials and city, county staff, etc.,
It does.
to make
Even if
better
they are,
decisions and not run the government that
yeah.
or the public that they work for as these as their little tax slaves.
Well, and it's even though you do have some shady developers, it's up to our county officials to
Yeah, well,
to do their due diligence and sniff that out. And I
well,
know
up until now, again, I would say over the last 12 months, 18 months or so, nobody really cared.
no, and
So
it's good that the groups that have popped up
yeah,
are bringing attention to this,
yeah,
and that's
and
one reason. That's one reason we wanted to get this podcast going because we kept waiting on the local news media here. They won't even cover they may send reporters, they may not. Then when you get the articles or the news pieces, it's one sided. They don't tell both sides. And, you know, and we get people talking to us behind the scenes and, we got ways of finding out different things and we can get a better picture than what a reporter can. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people's not going to go on the record. I get that.
That also kind of goes back to who's getting the green signal or the red signal of what they can write in the paper too, because I know there's got to be some string pulling and whatnot about XYZ. So
no doubt, yeah, that's 100% true, and some stuff's just a no go.
Yeah,
and we get that. I mean, and I know these small town papers and news media, they're on shoestring budgets.
Yeah.
We understand that. And we're not here to disparage them at any point. We're trying to help, help them, help us, help the citizens, try to take a little bit of pressure off of them because we don't do this for paychecks. We're doing this just out of the kindness,
Well, I like this kind of stuff. I think as a taxpayer and somebody that's lived here in the city of Gainesville for almost 20 plus years now, almost 25 years actually, it's just more so of like you don't want to see a place where you grew up just kind of go down the drain or
become so overcrowded that it's not even doesn't resemble where you grew up.
Yeah, I mean, and so I'm not against growth by any means. I'm in the same boat as I don't know any particular examples, but I don't feel like folks should even necessarily even have to go to the government to get permission of what they can do with their own private land. But at the same time, when you have these high density residential developments that are coming in and just like overcrowding and almost being a really big detriment to the environment around them. And what Hall County's always been, to me anyways, is this little bit of I would say like 70% country, outdoorsy nature with a little mix of city vibes. And then if you truly want the city vibes, you go drive down closer to Gwinnett or to Atlanta, about 30 minutes, 45 minutes down south. And you get that feel of city. But Hall County was always this little piece of heaven. And it has been for a lot of people. Every time I go to these public hearings, we bought this little slice of heaven, and now you guys are going to come in here and destroy it.
Right.
Unfortunately, to those people that bought the slices of heaven, I don't necessarily think that you personally, I don't think you have the right to go in there and say, no, you can't do this. It's not your property at the end of the day. But you know what I mean? Like it's a two-headed monster that you really have to be kind of equal with, because on one side, so in particular with the high density residential that Cook was trying to do up in Murrayville that got voted down, I don't know, it was like 173 units or something like that on 200 acres.
3 homes an acre.
Yeah, and and I think stuff like that, you had a lot of opposition from the neighbors and stuff, but at the end of the day, I see Cook's lawyer's perspective on this too. Whereas, hey, so and so bought this land, handed it down to his daughter. Now she's trying to cash out on it. Guess what? When you're putting 8 houses on an acre versus a single house per acre, the valuation goes through the roof. So this is potentially, let's just say a $5 million land sale for whoever owns that property, because they're able to put 8 houses on 1 acre versus, all right, well, we're going to be able to give you about $1 million for this because now we're being told we can only do 1 house per acre. That money talks, and that's a vast difference. So there has to be some kind of a balancing act, and I don't say this is an easy job for the council or for the Hall County commissioners, because they got to hear it from both sides. And at the end of the day, what are they? It's a tough spot to be in. So yeah,
it's like Cagle Road. I mean, that you're talking 300 and something homes up there, and those roads aren't built to hold it. Some of them are still dirt roads.
Yeah.
And we have it on, people talk to people after the commissioners. Some of them have not even set foot on the property or hadn't at that point. How can you vote for something when you've not even walked the land or driven by it?
Yeah.
Or driven by it, I'm sorry. And you got to know what and I'm not saying they've got to go out and inspect every vote that comes in front of them. But when you've got something is going to be opposed and there's going to be some pushback on, you got to each commissioner.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree with you. And for an example, let me tell you this little story about one of the projects that we were working on in Forsyth County. And I praise Forsyth County. I don't praise their taxes or their property valuations or anything that we end up having to pay every year. But at the same time, they give you the bang for their buck when we're talking about these developments and stuff. So when I went through this process, we were doing this small data center project off of Brownsbridge Road, and the district planning commissioner spent, I want to say 4 to 5 months working with me to truly understand what we were trying to do. Walked the property on his own time, came out there, met with the neighbors, and then he got with his I guess his boss, but the district commissioner, the actual commissioner for that particular district. And so she also, they worked together to truly understand the project. They went out there, they walked the property, they met with the neighbors, they did all of this stuff to fully understand what's being brought in front of them. And this is all outside of the public meetings, though. Then this is what stands out to me the most, is that they know exactly what they're talking about when they're in those meetings, because they've been there, they've walked it. They came out there, and we were, one of the big concerns was noise. So guess what? Both of the commissioners at one point went out there during the middle of the day and then at night with a noise meter to get, okay, what is the ambient noise levels out here? So they went out of their way to actually understand and educate themselves as to what they're trying to do. Now flip it on another side with the city of Gainesville and maybe the county. I haven't dealt with the county on this yet, but the city of Gainesville, where we got so much pushback on a project that's going to be right next to the airport, very similar, but noise concerns. And I can barely get in touch with anybody at the county, or I'm sorry, at the city, to, hey, like, here's all this stuff. Do you want it? Do you want to understand what we're trying to do? Do you understand, or would you like to learn a little bit more about it? You can't get a call back. And the same thing at the county too. I've noticed this is in a couple of meetings that I've been in where they don't know what the crossroads are, or right, they don't know certain things that you would think for a big development, whether it's high density or an industrial warehouse or whatever. They don't know certain things. And I feel like if you're a county commissioner and you're deciding whether to approve or deny something, you should spend at least 10 hours. If it's a big project, at least spend 10 hours before the meeting, throughout the week, whenever you can, understand these folks. And I know a lot of these meetings are private. Like they're spending their 10 hours, but it's not going to the property. Not from, at least from my, the optics that I see. They're not going to the property. They're not talking to the neighbors. They're waiting to talk to the neighbors until the public hearing, until those folks come up and speak an objection. They're not taking the calls. I've heard similar stories about a certain county commissioner that you can't even get a hold of if you want to, talk about something. So it's a night and day difference, and that whole procedure with the county is very, very, very non-transparent. And a lot of what they've recently done too, where, hey, we're not going to publish the agenda until the day of or the day before. And this has come up, I would say, at least once or twice every meeting that I've been to in the last 3-4 months, where the neighbors will come up in objection to something and ask the planning commission to table something, because guess what? Oh, we had no idea that these conditions existed. We had no idea that the applicant changed this on the site plan. We had, let us go back and take a look, and rightfully so. And kudos to the planning commission that they have tabled it. Right. They have tabled it, and they've given the time to the residents that have spoken in objection to review certain things. But at the same, like, why are we doing this though? Why are we wasting taxpayer money on the electricity of those rooms, the time of the commissioners, the folks to come out there just to table something where, hey, this is your deadline. You can't change stuff after this. Let's get this out 2 weeks prior. Let's get this out, a month prior. So yeah.
And we hear there may be some changes coming to the Cagle project after they've already put it in front of the commission, and that's not right. And one thing is, the county, they've ruled in the last few months, they don't even put stuff out. It used to be out weeks in advance what was going to be on the agenda and the projects that were coming up. Now it's like just a few days or maybe a week at most before the meeting comes up, and that's not right. I mean,
Yep.
it's like you were saying, it goes against total transparency.
Yeah. And that's a big key thing now. I feel like it's just transparency. And honestly, if I'm considering running for city council for Mr. Dunnigan's seat, and one of those things is transparency. And I don't necessarily see a lot of transparency issues with the city of Gainesville, at least from a city council standpoint. But I'm also not as involved on the city side as I have been recently with the county. And maybe I'll run for city, or I'm sorry, for the county seat for my district. And the main things I want to focus on is transparency. Why you work for these people? Why are you hiding? Why are you, at least, whether it's intentional or not? It certainly looks intentional. Why
Yeah.
are you trying to hide things? Why are we doing this? These people literally pay your salary. They pay for the building that you're in. They pay for everything that you use while you're at work. Yet you feel like you're entitled, and you don't owe these folks anything as far as even the littlest bit of transparency. You got to go to ORR. You have to go to open records
Yeah.
request just to go get something. It's so silly. It is
And
so silly.
some of these places, they try to price the ORR so high that you can't afford to get the documents
Exactly.
that you
Yes.
need.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the state law is pretty clear on how it's supposed to be done. They go by what they do is not by the spirit of the law to where it makes it affordable.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's supposed to be the lowest paid employee in the office. That's what the rate they charge. If you got a data clerk that's making $15 an hour, that's what you get charged for. However, but they give it, some of these people give it to the highest qualified person. You don't need a engineer to go pull public records, to pull
Right.
records.
Right.
That's why you have data entry clerks and secretaries and people under you. I mean, that defeats the whole purpose. So instead of paying $15 to $20 an hour, you're paying $60 to $80 an hour.
Yeah.
For ORRs. And when you're looking at we've got some of these ORR requests for just $500 or $600, and you got to pay half of it up front, and even higher, depending on what you ask for. And that's another part of the transparency. Why are you making it to where you can't afford to? I know these people have to be paid, and this is taken off from their regular paid duties.
Yeah.
But at the same point, you can't make a man off people wanting to find out what the heck's going on.
I mean, I feel like this is the whole point of having a database. Like, there should be nothing at the county that should be private, that can't be accessible via the Hall County website. Like, I feel like there needs to be some kind of an open database that anybody can go pull their own.
Laws and stuff for,
Let them go pull their own open record request.
I mean, and get it redacted and things. I mean, there's a way to do it, and the easier way to do it, or let the people that want the ORs, let them bring a couple of thumb drives up there and put the documents on right here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of having to print it out, here, put it on a thumb drive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that we're going to get into and we're going to talk about and over the next few meetings. And one thing I want to touch on before we try to wrap it up and kind of is we get all the state data for the Board of Education and, graduation rates, SAT scores, ACT scores, and all that's coming out. And, we've poured through the data over the last few years, a few of myself and a few colleagues, and we've seen a lot of improvements on a lot of things. And one thing is we found out is we're afraid these improvements are because they've moved the goalposts.
Yeah.
Especially since COVID. And 5 years later, it's time to quit blaming COVID and using COVID, and but and none of this falls on the teachers or the counselors or anybody. It's not just a local problem, it's a state and a federal problem. And we keep moving the goalposts to make our graduation rates and our test scores higher than they actually are. And that's what, that's what we want to kind of dig into and be sure that our teachers are getting the resources that they need. There was we'll put up a graph next meeting, or I'll put it on the website. With all the money that's being spent on kids, like Georgia averages around 13.4, 13.5 a kid per student.
Mm-hmm.
And it's higher than that nationally. It's around 15 or 16 nationally. It depends on the state you live in. 60% of that money goes to pay administrators.
Yeah.
Instead of going to the students and the teachers and to supplies and everything, it goes to administrators.
Yep. Well, and again, this is one of those entities. Again, you're having unlimited resources. So let's just, I don't want to deal with this. So let me just hire another administrator below me to take care of this and take care of that and take care of this. That I 100% agree with you. Our teachers are severely underpaid.
And they're handcuffed. They want to do things and they can't because they're handcuffed by paperwork or administrative orders. And the administrators, I mean, like the principals, when I say administrators, I'm not talking principal pay, I'm talking central office pay.
Yeah.
Superintendents, assistant superintendents, people like that.
Yeah.
Even though a principal is technically an administrator, they are still part of the day-to-day educational system. They're grouped in with teachers, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Naturally, you got good and bad principals, but I'm talking as a whole.
Yeah. Yep.
And these people are they're hamstrung. I've talked to so many teachers that, they throw their hands up. They get their work's rewarding, but they know they could do so much more if they were allowed to do so.
Yeah. And I mean, it's all politics too. That's the worst of it is just politics. And I don't necessarily think it's got any place in our schools, to be quite frank. But it's I think the best thing going forward for us is more and more people are starting to become aware of these issues, and a lot more people are wanting to be a little bit more informed about what's going on. And it's hard, you expect, because everybody's got something to do. Everybody's got a job. Everybody's got a life. They don't necessarily want to pay attention to this. And there's a reason we have elections to kind of, hey, you handle this for us. All right, we're voting you in. You handle this for us. And you would think that whoever you're voting for is going to do a good job and have your best interest at heart. So that way you don't have to stay up thinking about any of this or worrying about any of this. And things should go well, but unfortunately, that's not the case. And there's definitely a little bit of a shift, in my opinion, that's happening where people are, all right, maybe we need to pay a little bit more attention to this because clearly so and so is not doing what they said they were going to do.
Yeah, and what kills me is just one more thing about the commission, and because the planning commission, they're important, but the real thing's the board of commissioners. Even if the planning commission denies something, the board can still approve it. And that just baffles me. If it can't get out of planning, how in the world can it ever get to the commissioners? But if I was a commissioner and I didn't have time to go investigate or go look at a big development or something, I would not ever vote for it if the commissioner in that district was against it.
Yep. There's a reason that there have planning commissions and a board of commissioners too. Like your planning commissioner, again, from my experience with Forsyth County, those are the folks that are supposed to go do a lot of your legwork for you. That's why you
Right.
appoint them into that position in the first place. They're going to go look at and work with the planning staff to make sure, hey, does this meet certain requirements? Is everything good? What, and meet with the neighbors and kind of get a feel for it, and then kind of wrap everything up in a nice little package. Here you go, my county commissioner. This is everything. This is how I voted for it, and this is how the rest of the planning commission voted for it. So, we certainly have done our due diligence and our homework, and we don't feel like this is a good fit for this particular property.
Yeah.
Voila.
No doubt. And
Voila.
and I don't get this, like I said, how can you just disrespect the other county commissioner if you've not looked at a project? I think you got to take, like you said, your person on the planning commission's word, and then you got to look at him or her and say, why are you against this? And,
Yeah.
And if you're that vehemently against it, I would think just you would have to vote their way.
Well, that's the other thing too, and one of just a quick example of this was a gentleman he was in the city of Gainesville, but still part of Hall County. Try to get approval for a special use permit for a car lot right there across on Brownsbridge Road, next to Select Pest Services or something like that. The planning commission voted, I think, like unanimously to approve it. Gets in front of the county commissioner or county commissioners, and not a lot of stuff from what I've been told and what I've seen anyways comes up in Jeff Stowe's district when it comes for approval or denying certain applications. There's not a lot of activity in that particular district, and the one day something comes up in that district, he's not there to vote on it. But then Kathy Cooper states something along the lines of, well, Jeff told me to vote and he told me to vote no. So I'll have a motion to deny it. So you had a 5-0, I think, unanimous approval from the planning commission for this. And the board voted no, with that district commissioner not even being there.
Right.
Boggles my mind. Like, bro, you have very little that ever comes up in your district. The one time something comes up, you're not there. Yeah. And then you leave it, and you're hiding behind Kathy. Almost, to me that's what it looks like. You're hiding behind Kathy or the other commissioners. Hey, just go ahead and vote no on this. I'm not going to be there today. Make it make sense.
Yeah, because Stowe, he's got the center of the county, so most of that stuff goes to the city.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, make it make sense, Chris. Like you can't make sense of it, because worst case you can't be there for whatever reason. Table it. Let them table it.
Yeah.
Be there.
It's not going to hurt, because they've got a meeting every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got
to have, in my opinion, Chris, it's have the decency and the balls to face the applicant in person and vote no for the one thing probably in the entire year that comes up in your district.
Right.
If you can't even do that, why are you on the commission? You can't be there for one thing that comes up in your district in the entire year. What are you doing? And so this is, we can draw those connections as to who he works for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, oh, okay, now I see why you're so adamant about being your commissioner for your district.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And, it's just that we're not per se accusing anybody. I mean, that's just what it looks like.
Absolutely. It's the optics. The optics look horrible. People can draw their own conclusions from whatever I'm stating, but those are the facts. And I'm not accusing of anybody of doing any wrongdoing, but at the same time, the optics are so terrible when you do something like that.
Yeah, and everything that today we're come out with a lot of opinion. We were just trying to give everybody an idea of what we're going to be digging into and what we're going to be trying to find out and what we're going to be exposing, not really exposing, but bringing light to
Like
people
to,
that,
yes.
there's, and if something gets exposed, it gets exposed. That's not our fault. They shouldn't have been doing nothing crooked to begin with, but this is just an idea of, and we're just stating what people's brought up to us, and we're thinking, well, we're not as off the wall as we think.
Yeah.
We're not the only ones thinking this way or looking at things this way. This is a major problem in the county, and
There's no accusations being made. It's
yeah,
more so just we're just noticing certain patterns and certain
and
behaviors.
and we're going, yeah, no doubt, and we're going, and this is stuff, and everything that we bring up. Like if we bring up specifics, we will have an article or we will have something to show y'all that we'll have the facts behind it to
Yeah.
back up everything we say.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of information coming in, and we just got to verify it, and get verifiable information. And that stuff that the people, and we're not trying to dig into anybody's past or bring up skeletons or anything. This is stuff that should be readily available to the public. If
I
they,
don't think we're trying to bring up anybody's personal skeletons out of the closet.
yeah,
I'm not big on what we see on a federal level in politics. It's more so, what are you doing in public? What are you doing in your public office right now?
right.
How are you voting? What does it look like you're doing? Just from the facts that we're able to gather, et cetera.
And you got some of these candidates now that are, since elections coming up, they've passed everything in the world for growth. And then now when the elections are coming up, they're starting to vote against stuff.
Yep.
Just so they can have a recent record of being against growth or against, and that stuff like that matters. And one thing we're going to try to do is we're going to invite every candidate on the show, and we're going to try to talk to them. We're not going to take sides with candidates. We're not going to be on the left, on the right. We're going to let them speak their minds and give us their.
Well, I'd love for us to bring some of these candidates on too, and and let them talk about it on their own end too.
Yeah, let them talk. We'll ask questions. We'll even have user submitted questions or have a live session or whatever, and let the people make up their mind.
Yeah.
We're not going to force you to, if you got two candidates against each other, we just want the facts out there for the public to be able to make an educated choice.
Sure. Absolutely.
And it's like now it's way too early for these candidates for next year's election coming out. They're all talking a big game, and I know they're drumming up stuff, but nobody's talking solutions.
Yeah.
They're talking problems and generalities, but nobody's got a solution for what they're talking about or what anybody needs. Whether it will work, whether it won't, we won't know. But we got to get solutions out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
this is I think this is a good first episode of the podcast, and something for folks to kind of look forward to, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is, and we will. We're going to try to put one of these out. We'll record it during the week, but we're going to try to release it on Fridays.
Yeah.
And next week, it may be Thursday because mule camp's coming up Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I'll be there at a booth.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll stop by at some point over the weekend.
Yeah, it'll be good. And
I think this is good though, Chris. Like this is great. We got two folks like us, and then there's a bunch of folks in concerned citizens of Hall County,
and North Georgia Advocate, and
North Georgia Advocate,
and Hall Informed.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people in a lot of these that are active, and you know, a few of them have full-time jobs and they're still putting in the hours to kind of stay educated and keep our local governments accountable and raising concerns over certain things. So this is a good podcast, in my opinion, to have a little bit more of you know, I would say like a back and forth, just me and you talking, you know, having a
because it
beer
brings up a
and
lot of points because nobody can think of everything. Somebody's got different points, and we're gonna have different guests on, and you know, we're gonna get a lot of stuff out there, and each show's gonna last, you know, 45 minutes to an hour, and may go longer depending on if we have political candidates on, we have two on or
yeah,
whatever, you know. But and hopefully, once we get it established and we see what's going on, we'll try to have an agenda out a
sure,
couple of days before the podcast so people can look at it, and we'll post it on the Facebook group and on our website. And that way you can kind of know what we're going to do because we want to be transparent as well. We
yeah,
can't really fuss about transparency when we're not you know.
yep,
And we'll have bios up on the website giving you our background and how we got involved and what really
and
mattered, you
try to
know,
lead by example here.
and why we are doing what we're doing. So, well, I appreciate your time, and maybe everybody that listens, or if you got any questions, you can look us up on our
Mostly on
Facebook
Facebook.
group, North Georgia Advocate Facebook group, or you can go to northgeorgiaadvocate.com, and we'll also, when we post the video, the podcast, we will have an email for our contact information. So you can email us and leave any comments or anything or any suggestions or anything like that. So, but yeah, we'll get that done, and we'll have these out on every Friday, hopefully by, you know, earlier in the day by lunch. So people can listen to them at their leisure over the weekend.
Yeah,
So, all
this
righty.
will
Well,
be fun to be a part of.
anything else we need to chit chat?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered a lot, and I'm looking forward to the next episode.
Yep.
Talk some more.
And everybody we'll be back next week, and we'll give us a rundown before we get to Mule Camp Market and go from there. All right. Thanks.
See you, Chris. Bye.
All right. Bye.